Hello everybody, this is Gene Star134 coming to you with a new movie review, and as you can see, this is Frozen. Now, first things first. When is Disney going to take over the world? At the end of it, I feel like it's going to be a major battle between two nations, being Disney and what other nation that can survive. And being that said, it's a matter of time, I honestly feel. But till then, we will go with what we have, and that is the movie Frozen. So, coming into this movie, I've heard a lot of good feedback, a lot of people saying that they liked it, but being impartial, I was saying, or tempted not to kind of push myself to any direction, even though I liked a lot of the Disney movies. Disney has really thrown their hat into the ring generally within the new era of movies and everything, considering all the other stuff that has come out. And so it just seems like constantly they're revamping, redoing, and constantly pushing to an edge that most people don't seem to go to. And even in a child standards, which is really funny. So the whole story is there are these two sisters. One apparently has the power over ice. And so initially it starts off, you see them go to the ballroom because they're princesses and play around with the ice. And through a series of events, an accident happens. And so they must rescue the sister that does not have the ice powers. And in doing so, it traumatizes the little girl and must also suppress the memories of her sister, who was hit by the ice. And so what happens is one gets so fearful, being Anna. Anna is the one who has the powers. She becomes so fearful of her powers that instead of her parents locking her away in some castle like they would do in another story, they lock her within their own castle and pretty much shut the world away to protect her. Which is fairly ingenious because it shows a parent's love and care. And so, at that point, I will leave the rest of the story for you, because this is a movie I really want people to see for themselves. And so what is so interesting about it is it points at, yes, both a normal day and a traditional standpoint. And there are things that you kind of realistically see within this movie, and that's what's so in so many words, incredible. Now, it does, not to say that it does not have issue. Within a few points there are some minor faults that cannot really be addressed for its time. One is for pace, and the problem is the pace just seems always to be rushed. You get an introduction to the characters, you have a development of these characters, and all the necessary traits, but you don't feel like you have enough time or a moment to kind of connect with them. You can understand their situation, you can kind of care for them, but since there's so much to congest within a certain amount of time, you don't really get to connect to this person because you got another person coming in. And it's not to say that there's a lot of people, it's just, okay, you have to take care of this plot, this plot, this plot, this plot, and then it interwove these three or two plots together. And yes, that does make a interesting and character building story, but when there's so much to put into each story, it kind of loses a connection to the viewer. And in some sense, I felt like I did have a connection with this movie because it did instill a kind of childish innocence and a feeling for it, which I did like. But at the same time, I wish it could have connected better. But again, it's a minor nitpick as someone who critiques it on a higher level. For someone who watches it for the sheer fun of it, it is very good. It is very well built. And aside from that, it's pretty much set. It really is an overall around built movie. There is very little issue to the characters. They're all realistic to a certain extent. You feel like you can point them out as either friends or family in some way, shape, or form. Aside from that, it really is just, again, pacing. That was the only factor that kind of ran into this movie. But after all, if that's the only issue that there is not much. The only thing I must say at this point is be ready. It does have musical numbers, but that's to include pacing to move the story at a fair pace where everyone can still see what's going on, but at the same time still connect and get a graduation of, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's going through the character's mind and everything. And so for once, where a musical kind of cuts into the story and kind of derails the whole thought process, these stories actually work for the characters and work for the thought process and continue the pace, which allows it to at least maintain a perfect connection between story and person. And so, as much as pace kind of throws off the movie, again, as much as I critique it, it's a very well done movie. I liked it a lot, and I hope you go see it. It's in theaters right now. It's worth the watch. It's called Frozen. Some of the best singing I've heard in a while, too. And I hope you enjoyed this review. This is Gene Starwin, 34, signing out.